when you share your story and you get it out of your body and you speak it out into the world, it is so magnetic. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that feel really scared to share that. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Own It. Today, I am with my client extraordinaire, Steve, and we are going to be talking so much today about the creative process, the creative journey of bringing a project to life. And I thought it would be really incredible to bring him on before the podcast has launched and has gotten any traction yet, to show you kind of the behind the scenes, the messy middle, the vulnerable shares, and the creative process that not many people talk about. I think it's such an underrated thing, and I'm so excited that you want to come on and do this and just have fun with this and really share like what we've been up to behind the scenes leading up to the launch of your show, The Neuro's Journey. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you
I'm
so
stoked you're
much.
here.
I'm so happy to be with you as always,
Yeah,
Snap.
it's gonna be fun. We're gonna do this potentially as an ongoing series where we have you come back on the show every however often to just do like updates.
All
I think it'll
right.
be really fun to showcase the evolution and what's working and what's not working, to showcase to the listeners and the viewers like, okay, like how do we actually build a brand? How do you get yourself out there? How do you build a voice and a name for yourself starting from scratch,
Yeah.
starting from zero? Zero followers, zero listens, zero personal brand, zero social media, like nothing.
Thanks for building me
Yeah.
up, Snap. Nothing.
But that's what's gonna be so magical about it, because it's like you decided like we're gonna do this and we found each other. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But and for us to be like, all right, we're going all in. We're gonna rocket launch you.
Yeah, we're
So
gonna make it happen. I'm so excited for it. And it is kind of vulnerable. I mean, this story would have been easier to tell, like in hindsight, a year from now, and it's really successful and all the ups and downs. But like
yeah.
this is just before I jump off the diving
Yeah.
board, and like hopefully there's a pool underneath it.
Yeah. I promise you I built a pool.
All
I
right,
built a
cool.
pool. Me and the team built a pool.
Build me a pool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to dive in with you about like you finding your voice, the direction of the show, the name, like the strategy stuff too. But I think really what I'm super fascinated in, and I know that so many people that watch and listen to the show, is like the inner piece, like the inner confidence, the inner belief, the inner like alignment, building something that's really authentic to you. Because there's so many podcasts and so many shows out there. But the coolest thing about that is that about 93% of podcasts don't make it past episode 10. And so you've already recorded how many?
I think we're 7, 8, 9. I don't know, something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
you've recorded so many.
Hmm.
And so it's really a game of consistency, self belief, and playing the long game. So this is so exciting for me to just be like, all right, we've got you, you're committed, you're in, the vision's in, I'm in, we're in it. And there's a level of like conviction of bringing the project to life. And yeah, so let's talk about the Neuro's journey first for everyone, just to get them kind of on board and like up to speed. Want to like tell us what the Neuro's journey is about and why you started it and why you wanted to start it?
Yeah. So the Neuro's Journey is what I call my channel and podcast. And it's really about, it's based on my experience of weaving myself through a bunch of treatments for childhood trauma that I had. And, it's kind of the hero's journey into your own mind. And so, as somebody who 5 years ago didn't even really know what trauma was, and then understanding that I had so much of it, some of it which was buried, and the experience of kind of going through and like hoping this treatment is going to heal me or that treatment is going to heal me, and feeling kind of like lonely and broken, and that, oh, is this going to work? Like, am I redeemable in this way? And really, the reason why I call it this is what helped me to heal myself, to the degree that I am, is that I looked at it more like an approach to doing this. So then, rather than getting so attached to meditation, which is great, or this thing or that thing, it was like, how am I going to orient around this whole process? And I engaged, business techniques that I've used to grow businesses over life, over my lifetime. And so one, it's just developing a narrative about what's happening.
Hmm.
And I, stumbled on to the hero's journey sort of process for that and put myself in it. And then later, as I've been doing more research and all that, I know that people who frame their life story in a hero's journey have more meaning and have more happiness. And when you've had like a lot of these experiences, honestly, you can act kind of not that fucking cool sometimes, And instead of looking at it like I'm a bad person and look at all the terrible things that I do, if you look at it through this hero's journey lens, then you can give yourself a little grace for the times that you slip up. And then the other portion of it is I just added values, which I do for all my businesses, to this healing journey. So curiosity, courage, and action. And that's really a way to orient that every day I'm going to be trying to do some of these things, right? Curious is just internal curiosity. If you've had a lot of things happen, and we all have had a lot of things happen, they're not all right up in your grill at every moment, right?
Yeah.
You have to reflect on yourself and how you were in this situation. Like, oh, maybe I was being triggered, or maybe what Sam said wasn't really what pissed me off. It was what my dad told me when I was 6 or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
that kind of curiosity, or curiosity about treatments and that kind of thing. And then having some courage in this process. I think, any of this, if people are on, listening to this because they want to have their own podcast, it takes some courage to put yourself out there and sort of orienting yourself and telling yourself that you're a courageous person. Then you start to, like, the way the brain works is you see evidence of that and you become more courageous. And then finally action, just like doing stuff on a daily basis. So what I really want to do is create a project where it's not like I'm some doctor that has all the knowledge that I've read in books. I've lived all these things and I've gone through it and I have come to a place where my nervous system has calmed down in a dramatic way, to the benefit of me and my family and the people around me. And I just want to offer some hope to people that feel like stuck and broken in this anxiety, depression, trauma. It's all sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
And a way to say, like, you can go through a lot of bad stuff and you can have incredible changes in your life. And it's not magic, it's working the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. There's so many people that listen that are high achievers. I would say most of the audience is high achievers, whether they're entrepreneurs or growing businesses or wanting to start a brand and do their own thing. And I think that something that seems contrary to being a high achiever is being vulnerable. And you talked about courage. And I was listening to something that Brene Brown said the other day. She was talking about the fact that vulnerability can't exist without courage. Like vulnerability is the ultimate act of bravery. And I'm sure maybe you've seen her TED Talk. It was one of the first things I ever saw in my like personal growth journey. And it hit me like a ton of bricks because I was like, I am the least vulnerable person ever because I was so afraid to be seen, And one of the things that I felt so grateful when we were talking about this, pre-recording of doing this is that you were like willing to do it because not everyone would have the balls or be willing to be as courageous as you are being sharing the journey. Like it's so beautiful. And same here. Like I'm publicly documenting a case study of a client, right? Like it's
Yeah.
on both of us. It's
Yeah,
it's
right.
vulnerable for both of us to do it. But it's like why I want to do it because there's so much content out there and there's so much noise out there that like there's nothing on the line. Like there's no exposure. There's no wow, like I'm really enraptured in this story and I want to bring that back into the landscape of social media and podcasting because I think it has become very sterile and like here's the facts and here's the thing and it's like we learn through story. We learn through people's lived experiences. Like whether you're a doctor or you're not, it's like who are you actually being? And I'm so honored that we're working together because I like love who you be. Like so I'm like, yes, like you are somebody who you're authentic and you're vulnerable and you're humble about it too, which is amazing. And it's a rare combo. So I just want to make that reflection because I don't think we would be able to be doing this if it wasn't for both of us being okay being vulnerable because it's not easy for me. I'm doing it because I told myself I would, but it seems like it's easier for you. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easier now.
Mm,
I like most of these things, I kind of stumbled into it without really like I didn't decide one day that vulnerability was going to be something I was going to achieve and I was going to use courage to get there. That's not what happened. Yeah. Like I actually, and I highly recommend any men get in a men's group if they can. And I've been in one for 9 years, and I had a very skilled facilitator who started the group with us, and he would do things like, zero in on you. And at the beginning of the group, I mean, I would sit in his parking lot. I would be so scared. I would be like, I am not going in this fucking group. I'm not, because he was
really?
so laser ability to just look at anybody in the room and be like, Steve, what's going on with you? Like, I can see a disturbance in the force. And he had this technique where he would say, I want you to say this out loud. And it might be something like, if he was saying it to you, Sam, try on, like, I undermine all my relationships because deep down inside, I don't feel worthy of love. And the interesting thing is, so many of the men I just found, like, did not want to say the fucking thing. It was
Mm,
just like, just say it the way he said it. He's like, no, like, say it the way I said it. I've never seen him go more than two or three questions without just having someone burst into tears. And he had me say a long time ago, say deep down inside, I feel like a bad man.
mm,
And that just really, like, it kicked off like a teary crying thing that like I wasn't really in control of. And I'm, at that point, I mean, now my brand is crying or whatever, but at that point, I wasn't crying in front of 10 dudes. Like, that
yeah.
was not my goal. And, I actually, I broke down and we worked through that sort of thing and talked about it a little bit. And of course, they reflected, you're not a bad man. You're a good man. But what I really noticed in that is the reflections I got from them are like, we feel like everybody was more drawn to me, more attracted to my story, like all of these things. And like, that's at the end of the day, like what I've always sought out is I
Mm,
love connection. And so through that process, really the men's group was where I got to test this.
yeah.
And I got to see with guys that I respected, guys that I know wouldn't lie to me,
Yeah.
like they wouldn't say that I was something. I mean, I was kind of, we had values within that group. And I started to see the more that I actually revealed about myself. And, because before, I mean, I'd been successful. So and I always had a hot wife or girlfriend. I mean, I had the things, right?
Sure.
And so I could make it appear like everything was great. But when you're making it appear a certain way, people know. I
Yeah.
mean, people are very intuitive and they know. And so I think it's a refreshing thing when somebody says, like, this is where I'm struggling and this is where I'm succeeding. You get a lot more like benefit too when you're talking about your wins, when people know you also talk about your losses.
Yeah.
So it's been this process of over time. And then I think really, the main thing that said I want to really tell this story that started that process was uncovering my sexual abuse, because that was not something that I had access to for 50 years.
Yeah.
And I got it under hypnosis, and a wave of all the memories came back, and it was a pretty hard thing. I mean, the dude said he was going to kill me if I spoke, and I began to stutter incredibly badly around that time, and I still stutter a little bit, honestly, but for 10 years I was kind of one of those kids that was like stuttering on every syllable of every word. And so he tried to shut me down, and I knew that I had buried it for so long that like my psyche was so scared to even like surface it that I always had to be like in my 50s before I could really even address this thing. And I know that there are so many people that have that experience. And I I'm blessed in the fact that I don't feel I have a lot of deep down shame, and there are some programs in me that are run that basically are like that I'm unlovable. But like intellectually, I don't feel ashamed about being abused by an old man when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and so I don't mind telling it, and that's a very private thing for some people, and you never have to disclose those things. But for me, as I started to talk about that story and the reflection that I got, especially from people that it has happened to, was like really positive. Just the telling of it,
Mm,
not even like, oh, I did, MDMA therapy or I did this or I did that. It was more just like relating it.
yeah.
And so I just sort of came to it that like, I want to take the like sufferings of little Steve. I mean, my little version of me went through a lot of stuff and, and like parts work or whatever, talking to him. Now I, also just note like you kind of did your time for the family and I'm going to make that the sacrifices something of value to other people. So it's just become sort of a way of being, and it's so different how I interact in the world now because I can go out and just talk to people and meet people. And if they ask me about like, well, what I do for work, like I start to tell them. And it instantly, like I become more friendly with them.
Hmm.
And I just see it like the more vulnerable you are appropriately. I mean, you don't want to like
Yeah.
vomit all over people, but the more vulnerable you are, the more people are drawn to you, the more they really want to like help you, like they become part of your story. They're like, yeah, like I wanna. And so many people that I have told this story are like, how can I, yeah, I'll be on your podcast, yeah, I'll do this for you, yeah, I'll do that for you. And because they want to be a part of it. And I think um it's just been a turning point in my life, and I encourage anybody who's here doing it to just try it, and try it in a safe space. You don't have to do it on the internet first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can do it with some close friends or safe people, but it's life changing
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. And it's like you sharing that. This is, I think this is ultimately why I even started Voice Visibility. It was not to like help people monetize podcasts, even though that's something we do. It's like since I was a kid, like I have always been fascinated with people's stories. I think it's the most compelling thing. It's like it's their it's their life, and every chapter of their life you learn lessons and you encounter allies and enemies and this and triumphs and struggles, and it's like the older we get and the longer we live, like the more wisdom and the more like texture we have as humans. And you've gone through so many things, you've lived so many lives so far, and it's like you're reinventing yourself again. And I think that people will often underestimate the value of their story, and I'm curious, like, why do you think that is?
Hmm. I think there's a lot of messaging out there, or or maybe it's not messaging, but we take in that we're small, right?
Mm,
So okay, I'm starting a podcast and I look and I see Jay Shetty or somebody that's got millions and is super polished and is amazing. And like I'm like, well, how can I possibly compete with that?
yeah.
And I think that comes, at least in my view, from a world where the validation is external.
Yeah.
And it's a really hard thing. Like in this, I mean, I really believe now that it's like we come with this light, with this magic, with this love, and that everybody has value and everybody's story is really awesome. And the experiences that we've had like slowly covers that up. And in the process of uncovering it is beautiful. But once it gets sort of covered up, you can get into this shell where you think, I'm not worth people's time.
Yeah.
And I just think that like everybody is worth people's time, and your story is compelling. And it's just a way to say, like, I have value,
Hmm.
and everybody does. And so, my story might resonate with some people and yours with others. There's 8 billion people or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
I think both of our stories can be helpful. And yeah, I mean, I think it's external versus internal validation. And that's something, at least for me, starting out here, has been challenging to overcome or to figure out the landscape of.
Yeah. Yeah, I think podcasting, I mean, I started my show back in 2018, and I started it as a way to have a voice because
Mm.
that's my whole story is like I was not seen and heard. And so I was like, well, I'm going to do something where I am seen and heard. Like I'm going to rewrite my own story around my value and self-worth, going from I don't know how much you know of my story, but going from like a very dark place where I was having serious suicidal thoughts of not wanting to be on earth, like why am I here? To being like I need something in my life to cling on to. And for me that was actually working out and fitness and getting fit and taking care of myself and realizing, oh my God, like I just was not, I had no self-love. I was not pouring into myself. I was saying yes to everyone else and really putting myself on the back burner. And podcasting was one of the things that was like for me. I was like, I'm going to start this for myself to share my story, to have conversations with people that I like, and it's not about the outside world. And that's what I believe grew it because I wasn't trying to grow it. It's it's like I was trying, but it was more like I was doing it for the love of doing it and for my own personal liberation. When you share your story and you get it out of your body and you speak it out into the world, it is so magnetic. It's so magnetic. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that feel really scared to share that, whether it's parts of themselves or let themselves be fully seen in their gifts, their spiritual gifts, or um, come out openly about what they believe in or what they don't believe in because they don't want to be abandoned or be rejected. And so I think podcasting is one of the most vulnerable platforms, but it's also one of the most authentic and magnetic platforms.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And, I'm so sorry that you had those thoughts and those feelings. I understand that. And I'm sure that now the way you orient around it is those were some of your greatest gifts and blessings, right? That's like
For
what
sure.
prompted a lot of things. And I think that that's something we can learn as you get older and you start to see some patterns. I mean, just look back at your life. Anybody can be like, oh, I was so miserable when that breakup happened. Oh, thank God I'm not with her.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was the best thing ever that happened to me. I mean, over and over. And especially as I've told my story more and more, I have heard people's incredibly difficult stories from cancer diagnoses to mass murders, their father committing them. I mean, all kinds of different things. And universally, they all say they are blessings now.
Yeah.
And that's true of my story. I mean, I look at it like I chose this curriculum and I had these things happen to me so that I could, it, have my own personal journey of courage and then be impactful, for people going forward listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do believe that building building a voice, building a brand, building a show, building a podcast, it's like mastering the art of alchemy. It's like how can we take one thing and turn it into another? Like how can we take pain and put it in purpose, or how can we take trauma and rewrite it and turn it into a podcast with authority and impact? Like there's a transformation process, and I agree with you. I do believe that we like our souls come into this life, our souls choose our parents based on the lessons we need to learn, and our souls choose all of the fucked up shit that happens. And if we don't have that turning point moment, I have to come up with a name for it, but we'll use that for now. If we don't choose that to be like, I'm going to rewrite the story, then we will stay in the victim of what's happened. But the moment that we decide my life has happened for me and it's curriculum, it's evidence, it's built up all these tools and skills and stuff to now teach and talk about, that if we don't do that, then I think that's where we can get into a state of loneliness, depression, anxiety, like all of these things that are signs and signals to our bodies of like we're not on the right path. Like I truly believe that we are given a unique purpose and gifts, and part of that has to do with what we endured as a child.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with this. And, I think the way I orient around what you're saying is kind of like life is your guru.
Hmm.
And if you can, and it takes some time and some age and some repeating of patterns, but as you start to see that things you thought were horrible were actually good for you, in the moment when you're having a discomfort, you're having difficult times and thoughts, you can be like, well, what is this meant to teach me and learn? And, it's interesting in this process, it's a trying process for me. I mean, I really enjoy it. Like, I'm super motivated to do it, but there's just so many things I'm trying to learn and so many things that are, like my deepest fears that I'm trying to overcome. It can get me down sometimes. And then, I can take the perspective of if I just like walked onto the landscape and my first video was amazing. I mean, that's like not a story. That's
Yeah.
not interesting. Like
Yeah.
that's not really like when I decided that I'm going to do this, like I decided to take the Neuro's Journey podcast journey too, right? Which
Hmm.
means feeling scared and being overwhelmed sometimes and battling the old things that come up. And what I really notice is I've really clued into that when I am resourced and I do the things for me, like I'm good. But like when I get depleted, if I don't sleep well or I'm not exercising right or whatever, then my lesser um, thoughts and feelings and insecurities start to come out. And so I'm just like, when it's the bad times, I'm like, no, those are just time.
Mm.
Like, if you're going to start something like this, you cannot just expect that it's all going to go well. It's like trying to like like I'm going to have a kid, but I never want to hear a crying baby. Well,
Mm.
then you don't want to be a dad because
Yeah.
babies cry.
Yeah.
And if you're going to start a podcast, you're going to talk about your story, or even if you're going to talk about plumbing supplies, I mean,
Yeah.
you are going to get out there and you're going to face fear of rejection and all those kinds of things, and that is kind of part of the excitement of it,
Yeah.
and it's why it's of value, and it's why we respect people that actually have done it and overcome through it because it's not easy.
Yeah. And I still am not over it.
Yeah.
Like after 330 episodes and making content for the last 8 years, it's still there.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that it will ever go away. And I
What's it? Well, how
like the
how would you define
fear
it?
of anything, the fear of
Yeah.
rejection, the fear of it not working, the doubts, the insecurities, like they're still there.
Hmm.
It's just, I think that I have days where I'm like, what the, like
Right.
that's still a thing. And I don't think that anyone doing anything big is not having those days. Like they're all having those days. They might not talk about it, but I'm trying to be as open as I can with my
Yeah.
community too, to be like, guys, it's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. It's not. There's going to be days where you question everything and you're like, do I really want to do this? And then there's going to be days where you're like, this is the best day ever, and you feel like you have split personalities. And I don't know that it's a thing that will ever go away. I mean, it hasn't gone away for me. And the only thing I know to do is just keep going. It's like I think about it. I always compare it to like working out because it's just that's been a staple for me as well. It's like not every workout I'm gonna feel really strong and like do my pull-ups and like, lift the heaviest weight. If I expected that I would have a strong workout every workout, I would be disappointed.
Right.
And I wouldn't want to go because I would be putting so much pressure on myself. So I treat my workouts like, okay, I'm going to just give it what I got today. And like, that's it, And it's like, I've had to really get rid of the perfectionism around that because that was definitely who I was. Like, I
Yeah.
would. I would be like, this has to be perfect, or I have to run the fastest mile that I've ever run today on a random Wednesday, like that's just not how it's going to be. And I think especially with like the medium of podcasting, it is a long game. It's not like, sure, there are people that have like overnight success, I guess, but typically it's because they've built success in something else and then it's carrying over. So it is a long game and it requires so much patience and like trying to enjoy the process as much as possible because otherwise you get defeated and you quit before you start. And like I don't know, I've been there where you just like want it to work so badly, or you need every day to be good and you have this false sense of how it should be. But I think having more combos like this, I know, is going to help people, and it's cathartic to me too. Of like, no, not every day is going to be like an A+ day. I'm a very positive person, and also there's days where I'm like, oh my god, you
Yeah.
know. So it is part of the journey. And it's part of the hero's journey and part of Neuro's journey.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think there's something, I feel like some people forget also the risks of like not doing it. So to me, and I don't recommend this as a parenting strategy now, but as a boy growing up in the 70s, like the number one like sort of thing of a young was don't be a pussy. Like that
yeah,
was it.
yeah, for
And
men,
yeah,
yeah,
for men,
yeah.
and I think that shames kids in a lot of way, but in some ways, like what orient around in this is like, all right, well, if I'm looking back when I die or on my deathbed, am I gonna be glad that I didn't take the risk to try
Hmm.
because I did, like so you miss out on like you're already if you haven't started your podcast, you have 0 followers, so you can't go below that, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and the other part of it is I think having some purpose to your work. I mean, my personal thing, and I'm sure you have a lot of business owners on your podcast where it's maybe not this personal a story, but this is something that like is my life's purpose that I feel. So no matter what the ups and downs are, and they get me, in the evening, sometimes I'll just be depleted and kind of a little down. But I wake up in the morning like, how am I going to do what I can do today to make this thing work and have it be of value? And knowing that I do know that people have been impacted. I mean, I have had many people just tell me like just the words, just the things you're saying have like radically impacted my life. And that feels really good. And it also is like, this is why you're doing it. So I think if like, no matter what you're doing, tap into the real why,
Yeah.
and that's the driver, not the getting 800 likes or whatever it is.
Yeah. Because you'll be on a perpetual mouse hunt, you know?
Yeah.
Um, okay, I want to switch gears a little to like the creative process. So
Okay.
I think it's fun to like debunk and peel back the curtain of like what it actually looks like to start a podcast and do it in a way that's, yes, purposeful, but also in alignment with who you are as a person, and then like strategic, like coming kind of from all angles, like the energetic side, the mindset, and authenticity side, and then the strategy side. So um yeah, I want to talk about that. Like, so we did our first call where you basically shared your story with me. And it was like or is this going to be a fit? You know, like, can I help you? Blah, blah, blah. I fell in love with you because of the story. So that just goes to prove the point of like vulnerability and like owning and sharing the story is the magnet. So just for everyone listening, like, if you needed to hear that, like your story is the magnet. Once we started the process, something that I know that's really resonated for you is like human design, like
Mhm.
me doing your human design chart and seeing how your human design informs the type of show and even the type of brand and what the business could be, how that's impacted you. Can you talk a little bit about that of like what resonated? And if you remember your design, I can share it, I think, if you don't.
Yeah, I'm not gonna remember the lines and
Okay,
numbers.
you're a 4/6. I know
Okay.
that. I think you're either a manifesting generator or a generator. You're one
Okay.
of those two. But the 4/6 was the thing that shared with me that you were a connector. Like you were
Hmm.
a community builder and a connector.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really like that, you sent me something that sort of related to you're a connector, but it's like your network. It's like meeting people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be able to make a video that a lot of people are going to see, but really, like your type and your design is around getting out and meeting people. And one thing that I really like love about this and what I've chosen is for me to do this, I feel like I have to really be it.
Mm,
So So I need to do the meditations, to do the daily practices, to work on what I'm doing and have the times when I slip and, life is, has its ups and downs. And one thing that you telling me, the human design, I think I would have stayed in and like worked on scripts and all the different
Yeah.
things because I thought that that was what I should be doing for my purpose. But when you told me that, it was like, no, like get out there and meet people and have interactions and build it like a small local business essentially. And that's really just a lot more fun. I mean, I have a lot more connections. It's gotten me to just take that leap into even things like I just went to Kirtan, which is like this, music chanting thing on Sunday. And a part of it was I was tired and I might have skipped it, but I was like, well, I should just get out there. Maybe I'll meet somebody and I can talk about this, or I'll get something that is of benefit to it. So by kind of engaging in the way that you illuminated my human design, it's just making my life better.
Yeah.
And then I think it's also slowly and or organically building what I'm trying to build.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think that a lot of people get caught in what you were saying that you were originally going to do,
Hmm.
which is like staying in, hiding behind the computer or the screen, overly scripting, being overly polished
Hmm.
because they're afraid of like what it would look like to just be themselves and share their story. When
Hmm.
it's like, that's what it is. Like, that's the sauce. It's actually the easiest thing. It doesn't cost anything. You just go out, you meet people, you say hi, you talk to your barista, like whatever.
Right.
It requires you to use your voice, but it's like I do believe it's the shortcut. It's the shortcut, and it's the way that's fun. It's fun to connect and interact. And if you're gonna have a podcast, then you need to meet people. So like
Yeah.
you need to do that anyways, and at least that's how I found it really working for me. And I'm a different type than you, but I think even just knowing who you are as a person, I can like I can see where you're like looking over here and like, ooh, maybe I need to do this. And I'm like, Steve, no, like come back to your connector role because that's what's going to really land. Even with like business partnerships or like the brands or how we're going to monetize the show. Like what's going to come of it? Is there going to be a community? Is there going to be courses? Like what's going to come of the show? It's like letting that unfold. And like, I do have, sometimes I have like little premonitions for you of like, ooh, I think this or I think this, but we won't know.
Hmm.
But even just the organic like partnerships that have arisen from you sharing your story, and that's really cool. And I think more people need to hear about like that magical. You can't put like a formula to that. You just have to be out in the world and talk to people and share about what you're up to, and people get interested.
And that's one thing that's really cool about the podcasting thing, is the process of meeting the people, researching them, coming up with the questions. Like I spend a lot of time on it. Like if somebody says that they're going to be interviewed by me, I do probably an hour plus call with them, and I record it and I listen to it, and then I research their background and I do multiple iterations of questions. And it's interesting. Like I'm really become, I feel like everybody who's been on the podcast like leaves a friend.
Mm,
And that's, they're definitely somebody that I would feel totally comfortable texting on a Tuesday morning, like, hey, do you have this or blah, 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 that.
yep.
I've learned a lot about it. And I do think, for anybody doing it, at least to me, I think my guests know that I have spent some time on them
Yeah.
and that I've thought about them and that I'm like engaged in like them telling their story in a certain way. And I think it has value. And if you're for them, then most people, I mean, maybe there's some famous people that won't come on, but I would imagine most people are looking at a podcast now that want somebody on, they can get that person on,
Yeah.
you
For sure.
know? And especially if you kind of show that it's about them, but infusing, like you're doing it here, like we're having a conversation, you're interviewing me, but you're also telling me about you,
Sure.
and we're deepening our friendship. And
Yeah.
it's like super fucking fun and
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It's great. It's
Yeah.
great. I do have a belief. This is actually reflected to me a few years ago from a client. She was like, you just like make everything fun. And
Yeah.
I was like,
Well, you are
oh,
pretty fun.
thanks. Like, it's something that I'm learning to like realize about myself. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I do. Yeah. But I think it's because fun is magnetic. You know,
Right.
nobody wants to be on a show that's it's not enjoyable or entertaining to listen to. I think that the shows that I enjoy listening to and watching the most, and I'm sure you too, it's like this bridge between education and entertainment. And so like I call it edutainment.
Mm.
And
One of my favorite hip hop albums of all time,
oh yeah.
Boogie Down Productions. If you haven't
Oh,
listened to it, you should definitely listen
okay.
to it. Edutainment.
Okay. All right,
Anyway.
cool. Well, I will listen after this for sure. But yeah, like edutainment, like we have to bring the person and the humor and like the story into it.
Hmm.
And that is what's magnetic, you know? And so many people that want to grow their brand are very much stuck in the like logical vanilla, like this is the way to do the thing instead of really being authentic to them, whatever that means, you know?
Right.
And so not everyone should do what we're saying, but you should do like listening. You should do what is actually lighting you up and what you want to do. I know for me, I held myself back from being more vulnerable on my show because I had this whole internal narrative that it would like discredit me and make me not like it would destroy my business. But
Hmm.
that came from a childhood belief that vulnerability was weakness and I needed to avoid all emotions at all costs and
Right.
just plow, you know, like just achieve everything and be the best, which is not healthy. And so I'm learning how to bring that, you know, I've gone through phases of it, but bringing that back in this way of like what would it look like to just be myself? Well, I would just tell it how it is. The ups, the downs, the hilarious shit, the embarrassing stuff, and just let all of me, all of you be seen because that's what we fall in love with, you know? And like a partnership too. It's like you wouldn't expect Leah to be perfect. That would be so boring. Like
Yeah.
that
No,
would
she's definitely not perfect.
yeah. And you're not,
But
you
she's
know, it's
really
like
great.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we don't fall in love with people because they're perfect. Like
Yeah, and I feel like, one thing that you do really well, and I think because of you have a storytelling bent, you see what's right in people and situations. So like when you met me, I mean, who knows what all the other stuff, but I felt valued by you. I think that, if you have this storytelling vein and this sort of approach, the hero's journey approach, then you can look at the things that are maybe not so great as just like that's just like the things to overcome. And I think that people get so like kind of focused on those negatives parts and interacting with somebody like you who's like, no, I see it. And just the way that you communicate it that makes people feel it, it feels real. It
yeah.
doesn't feel like bullshit. And I think when you were saying we were doing the tested out call, I also believe if whatever my story was didn't resonate, that you would have said this wasn't for you or us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I believed you, and I believe in that, and that is uplifting to hear from somebody that has been successful in it, to just be like, no, your story has value. And I think that we both believe almost everybody's story has value.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we could pull most people that we know, that we meet in a bar, spend some time with them and get them in here and make it interesting.
A hundred
I
percent.
believe it.
100%.
Yeah.
I think if people saw themselves in the way that we see people, the world would be a better place and a different place.
Yeah.
I think that it's it's something that I've struggled with my whole life. And I would say that it's something I'm still working on, but it's like seeing yourself the way other people see you. It's
Hmm.
really hard to do that, you know? It's like I don't know if we ever will, but I think something that really matters to me is making sure that the people that I am in relationship with know that I see them.
Hmm.
Like and I don't want to be in relationship with all of the people, but the people that I care about and like love, I'm like, oh no, like I want to make those reflections. Guests too, like in conversations, I'm like, I want to be present and I want to focus on what is working. Because of course you're not perfect, neither am I, but I agree with you on the like if we get so hyper fixated on the thing that we don't have,
Hmm.
then we miss what we do. Like we weren't given all the gifts. We have gifts, but like we don't get all of them. And yeah, I think it's a thing that holds people back from showing up. whether it's online or in their lives, because they are so fixated on what's not right or what's not the best or what they are still working on, instead of being like, wait, these are my strengths. Like, let's double down on those. We're not like taught that as kids often.
Yeah. And one thing that I really like about the podcast thing is just this notion, I have we've talked about it. Like I have this like deep down sort of shame thing that I'm working with, like which is basically you're a bad person and no one should love you. And I know that that's not true, and I also know it's a very ingrained pattern in me. But one thing that like one way it's played out really sweetly in the podcast thing is I am always moved when somebody says yes.
Mm,
That they would just even take the time to like
mm,
be with me and like do this thing. Um, it just lands on me,
mm,
because I think in some ways it's like there's a part of me that like doesn't think I'm worth it, and then there's another part of it that knows that I am. But it's like as you start to do it and you start to have people say yes to you and you start to show a little bit of emotion and things, then you get more of it back and you can build on it. I mean, just as far as like the healing from trauma and the things that have happened to me, like I cannot explain how much more rich my life is.
mm,
And really, in this year has been the big shift. I mean, I've been healing for years, but 2025 has been the year where it sort of crystallized. And there's a ton to go. I mean, I still deal with anxiety and depression and all those things. But I also know my nervous system has calmed down, but everything feels um, better. Like every interaction from business to personal to just out on the street. And I think a lot of it is just valuing yourself enough to be like, yeah, like I'm worthy, warts and all, to be out there.
mm-hmm.
And it's a big step, especially, I'm older, I'm 56, so like I didn't grow up in the generation that was filming themselves going to McDonald's or whatever,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like that, and it always and now, not that I do that, but I think this journey is interesting. I mean, if somebody is interested in this kind of thing, like what I'm doing and going through is an interesting process. I mean, I've been in finance for 30 years. I have no skills or qualifications or anything for this,
Yeah,
I'm just basically operating on purpose,
yeah.
and something is saying do it, and then I'm waking up and I'm like trying to do it each day, and I'm also calling people in. I mean, I think we joked about it on the last one that I manifested you. But I like, I write down the things, and I said like I want somebody that is young and smart and vibrant, who's going to make my content better and have it get more reach. And I really believe that that's happening with you. And I feel so supported by you. And I love the fact that you're, I don't know, 20 some years younger than me, a woman, like we have, like my whole team is young women.
We love it.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
love
yeah,
it. We
yeah.
got you, Steve.
Yeah. Which, if people knew me, that's not that surprising.
Yeah. But okay, so going back to what you shared about like where you are in your life too, I think it's also important that like we keep you. Like I feel this really. I actually had a client recently send me a message and she was like almost in tears and she was like, I think God sent you to me. I really think that God is working through you to help me grow what I'm supposed to grow. And like it made me cry. I feel that too, but fuck, man, like that was deep. Like on a Tuesday at noon, like, and I do feel like I get, I will get messages for clients, right? Like intuitive messages or channel messages or little like pings or gut instincts or whether it's my psychic abilities or what. But with you, I just kept getting this message of like, you need to protect Steve. And it's really interesting because it seems like, huh? But it's like you have this childlike wonder in you that's very like open and excited and you're like eager, right? And so I'm like, okay, like we need to keep Steve
Mm.
because it's going to be the more that you get in, like, the deeper you go on your podcasting journey. I know you're not launching until when this episode airs. You will launch, I think, the following week, and we'll talk about the launch and all of that. But the more that you get immersed in this world, the more you will see, the more it will be easy, very, very subtly, to start to want to be like somebody else.
Mm.
And I can say this because this happened to me for like 3 years. I started going, I didn't even realize it. I started abandoning myself and following what someone else was doing, kind of thinking that was the path I wanted to go, and seeing their success and the shiny lights and the money and the thing. And I started abandoning myself and not being true to me.
Hmm.
But I didn't realize it until I had gotten to 3 years down that path where I was like, fuck, this is not me and this is not what I want.
Right.
And so it was like a 3 year detour. And I wouldn't change it because now I have the discernment to be like, is this true to me or not? And it's like I feel called to even say that to you and everyone listening, because it's really easy to see what is working for everyone else but does not feel true to you. And in this game of life and brand building and just like listening to your soul, it's going to be so important for you to listen to what's true to you, and for me to also tune into your energy around what you tell me you want to do. And I'm like, Dave, is that true for you, or is that what you think you should do?
Hmm.
And to walk that line, because it's a it's a slippery slope. Like you can fall off without even realizing it. And it's like one of my things with you and all my clients, but just because we're talking about this right now, is like making sure that you stay true to you, like in your voice, in your authentic brand voice, in the direction you take it, in the partnerships you make, in all of it, and not getting distracted by like the shiny objects or the money or the fame or whatever is going to come of it, of like not staying true to you and being in integrity, because I know that matters to you, and like being authentic to yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but we've been talking about this hero's journey thing, and I think what your client was saying is like you're an ally, right?
Yes.
And in thinking about it now, it's funny because I've spent a lot of time thinking about the hero's journey from my perspective, and I know that allies have showed up, and I consider you one of them. But, there's also such beauty in being the ally, right? Like what an honor that you're coming in and you're helping somebody kind of live their life's purpose. And really, when you develop that, like because I know you and I love you now and I trust you, like you could say something to me, mostly like almost everything that you say to me, I'm just like, okay, cool, let's do it, because and I'm not, that's not my nature,
Yeah, yeah.
but you have a lot of credibility because you really like perform that ally's role for me. I know you're for me.
Sure.
I know that you want this to be impactful. And I know that it's not just because I'm your client,
Yeah.
and so that is also like you can be as part of this thing, just, part of the hero's journey is being an ally at some point, is leaving a legacy where you're helping the other people. So it's like you're on this dual track, right? You're still living your hero's journey and go. I mean, I know you're redoing your company name and changing your focus, and all those things have to be kind of scary when you have a lot of followers and a lot of things, but you're changing as a person, so you're still living your journey, but you're also an ally in mine.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of like this process of like when you have something to give, then you want to give it. And really, like this is the first year where I felt that I had in this world like something to share
Mm.
that like was of value and that I could articulate. I've been able to do that in business and different other contexts, but it was like, oh, okay, I know I've gotten somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and where I'm ending up is going to be wherever I die. Like I'm never stopping the growing and all of that. But I do feel like now, I mean, I hopefully this show is going to be people's allies and will create like a community where people are, offering something to what is somebody who maybe is in their place and they have something to offer, and they're also receiving from other people in the community. I mean, I have had so many people just show up and mentor me and be cool to me and offer things, and that'll start happening if you start putting yourself out there. I firmly believe it. I've talked about this with a lot of people, and it's a pretty universal thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, and just like living in alignment, like doing what you generally want to do. Like I do think God or the universe, whatever you believe in, like I think that there's a consciousness that opens doors for you that you could never open on your own. Like
Yeah.
like the way that even we met was so divinely just we weren't trying. Yes, you were manifesting me. I was probably manifesting you. I'm trying to think of where I was in that moment, but I know that I was calling in clients that I could build and work with long term to really bring them to where they want to go and like build deep, meaningful partnerships and purposeful brands. Like that's who you are. I'm like, yay, we're fucking going for it. Like not everyone that I had worked with in the past wanted that. And that's okay. But I just realized, oh, actually the people I really want to work with are like very purpose driven. They are really here to make impact and that's what they're leading with. Um, and so you were also an answer to my prayer too. And it's like I think at all times we're all looking for each other. Like
Mm.
the people that you want to hear your show are also looking for your show. And I know this to be true in so many areas, but I'm going to give you an example because it's so present. But I made a TikTok about 3 days ago, and it was talking about, I'm probably going to do a full episode on this because it's fascinating to me, but I was talking about the fact that I grew up Catholic and like fell away from Catholicism because I just felt like it was a lot of shame and guilt and I didn't like organized religion. And then I found like more new age spirituality or whatever you would call it, right? Of okay, manifestation and oracle decks and crystals and like all these things and yoga. And then something happened where I was like, okay, well, there's this new age spiritual stuff over here and there's this God stuff over here, but like who's having the conversation about both? Like can we be both? Like I am psychic. I am really tapped into energy. I can read people really well, but I also believe there's a creator and a higher power. Where's that convo? And so I made a TikTok.
Mhm.
It has gone viral. Thousands of comments, people in the comments being like, oh my God, you are saying what I've been feeling. I've been looking for someone that's talking about this, like blah, 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 right? And it's like, when you create what you wish existed, the people find you. Like,
Mm.
you're the thing that you're looking for or wanting. If you bring that to life, the right people will find it. Like, I just have this belief of like, it's given to you. The idea is given to you because you're supposed to birth it. And it's like,
Right.
just birth it. Don't overthink it. I wasn't in any fancy clothes. I was just like in my house. Just like, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking. And it just landed because it was like that's what I needed to hear. No one was talking about it. And I think for you, it's like your show. It's like I've actually never heard the personal growth and personal development and spiritual whatever journey you like the hero's journey used as a parallel to describe it. It may have been used before, but I've never heard it in the context that you've shared it. And it's helped me understand my story in life better,
Mm.
which is really cool because I'm like, oh, we're producing your show, but like I'm learning from your show and you're learning from me. And it's this like reciprocal thing. And so I think that all of our cumulative life experience, when we just share the thing that's like on our heart to share, it will be met no matter what.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think there's something really to tap into about like the motivations behind things
Yeah.
because you're clearly coming from a place of your purpose and what you want to put out there, and you've been cultivating it over a long time. And for me, I was successful in business young. In my 20s, I was managing hundreds of millions of dollars, and I was a political science major. I had no background in it. I just like
Yeah.
was going for it. But like my motivation on it, and I didn't know it at the time, it was more fear-based. It was like, if I finally get like if I get the wife and the house and the money, then I'll be safe or whatever. And, those voices, as you start to listen more deeply and closely to what is happening inside, every voice is not the one you want to follow.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like, I was successful in business, but I really wasn't that money motivated. And what would happen with me is I would build something up And then once the threat of it not going well would sort of dissipate, then my energy would collapse and I would go back into addiction, because really what I was not like, it wasn't about doing that because that was my mission.
Yeah.
It was it was like, oh, well, like I'm satisfying some fear by like achieving this. And so I built a bunch of businesses and then like disappeared and let them fall apart and build them back up. And I had that sort of thing. And who knows what'll happen with this, but I can already tell that the energy level is much different. And it comes from a calmer voice. Somebody who's had my experiences and had a very overactive nervous system. I mean, I've witnessed people being murdered, I've been abused, I've seen abuse, like all those things revved me up. And so I had a very kind of fear-based paradigm going, and I was so dedicated to like not being in the present moment. I didn't really ever listen to the calmer voices that should have been guiding me. So I think like when I hear you talk, I hear somebody who takes risks, is vulnerable, is willing to like really drop into it, because you're coming from a place of like really deeply touching into what is truly you.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're contemplating working with Sam or starting a podcast, like you want it to be because it's coming from that wise place that says, this is for you. Not that, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm going to fill this hole in me. That, there's a nuance there that I think will give people more of an opportunity to be. And I don't even know that success is the word. I mean, I want this to be big. I mean, like what the hell, like it could have
Might as well.
yeah, I mean, 1,000 people could watch, 1,000,000 people could watch. I'd rather it be 1,000,000. I mean, but I also just look at it like I'm doing this and I'm gonna do what I think is best and operate in that way because it feels resonant to like who I am as a person. And if I didn't do it at this point, if I just, let's just say I won the lottery and I had all the money in the world or whatever, like if I didn't do this, I would feel like I just have left what is an essential part of me to like the next life.
Mm,
Like, and so there is also that point of deeply tapping into what is essentially you, and you were lucky to find it young. I
yeah.
basically avoided that for so long. But the other thing that's inspiring in my story, and I've had, like, I don't want to have a woe is me story. I mean, I've had an incredible life with a lot of love and fun and all that stuff. But if I look at my personal story, the things that have happened since I've been 50 have been the most meaningful things.
Mm,
And that's honestly when I thought that I was going to be fading into the,
yeah.
like, okay, I could travel and have nice meals and do that for the rest of my life. And now it's just that's not what I want to do. Like I really feel like I've found my voice, and I, hope that I'm talking to young men, especially men who are in a crisis. And hopefully you don't have to wait until you're in your 50s, but also it can happen. And you can be 47 and feel like you're shiftless and and it's a weird thing. You can be very successful and feel very empty inside.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, I come from finance. There's a lot of people that are in that because this big pile of money is going to make them whole. And most of them find some sort of emptiness when they actually achieve their goals. And then they get on to the real work of life. And I don't know where that balance lies for me. Maybe I needed that experience, but I know like when I got my biggest client, I mean, I'm in my 20s. I am sitting on a building on the top of a building in the penthouse in Manhattan, like a 60-story building that this dude owns. And he's giving me $10 million to manage. And I was so like not able to even enjoy that. I mean,
Mm,
I scored crack in the parking lot of his building and went home that night and just I
mm,
didn't even enjoy the wins,
yeah.
because I was so like not able to sit in my own body.
Yeah.
It was a fearful place to be. And there's only so much of that people need to tap into that for themselves. But I do think this process, especially working with somebody like you who sees the good in people, who has an intuition for what works and what doesn't work. It's also like this is like a personal growth thing for me just as much as it is like a business or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is like a twofold mission. It's like you're helping yourself and you're helping others at the same time. And that's like a win-win.
Yeah, and which is, it's funny because I mean, I guess on the simplest level, what I learned is just telling my story one on one to people. I know from studying the brain, I mean, that helps me process my trauma. It puts it into the prefrontal cortex, which makes meaning out of those and turns them into memories from something that's happening in real time. So the more I tell it, the more that I heal myself. And I know from talking to people that them hearing it is beneficial to them.
Yeah.
And so I never really honestly like until now like thought like, oh well, that's really like what a podcast is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're listening to it. Then when you're behind the scenes of like putting it together and recording the episodes and coming up with the creative direction and the message, like you start to realize, oh shit, this is actually kind of a healing journey, going and sharing your story. Like
Yeah, and
so cool.
and you will have your ups and downs. I mean, I'll tell you one failed episode of the podcast because I recorded some things, and I met this really amazing man who I'm happy to call a friend now, named Shen Tong, and he was one of the leaders of the of the Tiananmen Square protest.
Okay.
So this is the largest protest in human history, 150 million people in 400 cities. He was in Chinese jail 5 times. He saw people shot in the face in
Oh,
front of him, escaped from China, became this intellectual and businessman. And anyway, I met him. I told him my story. He's instantly become an ally. He was so kind of like, yeah. And so I went and I interviewed him in New York City, and it just wasn't the right setup. I didn't really know that much about it, and the camera went off, and I didn't even record it. And he told me in it, and he said, he's a best-selling author. He's a venture capitalist. He's been interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of times. And he told me in the interview, he's like, "This is the first interview of all that I've ever done that the real me is here,
mm,
that I'm not performing." And I felt so honored because I love that dude, and he's been so kind and generous to me. And I totally fucked up the whole record. I don't even have it. So that's part of it,
yeah.
instead of like beating myself up. I mean, I've befriended him enough where, I think he's going to get in that chair one day, and maybe I'll coax him into saying it again.
Yeah.
But that's all part of the thing. I mean, that was just like the thing where I was learning,
Yeah.
and I was eager to get out, and I was saying yes to things that probably I should have been like, well, I need to actually know a little more about the scene because I
Sure.
don't know that it's going to be the right setup and the right
Hmm.
timing. And, it was just like this incredibly brightly backlit room in New York that was loud. I mean, just like it wasn't working. And so, yeah, it's all part of the process.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like the journey of it is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, that's like the biggest compliment you can get, I think, when guests feel like they can be themselves. It's refreshing.
Yeah, and I think it's like when you demonstrate that you're yourself. And
Yeah.
I told my story to him, and he when he heard it, he's gone through a lot of traumatic things, but he immediately like came over and started doing energy work on me, and we were at a private equity conference, and he was like, "You want to meditate tomorrow morning?" And
Oh,
he taught me his
this is
light
so wholesome.
he taught me his light meditation, and then we ended up spending like 3 hours together, and I'm like always like talking with him now, and he's an ally and a mentor and a friend and just an awesome person, and I totally fucked up his interview.
No, it's because it wasn't meant to be, and you're gonna
Yeah,
have
yeah,
another one.
yeah,
We
yeah.
know
I
it.
gotta lure him back here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you will. I
Yeah.
know you will. Um, okay, so let's talk about your podcast launch and the party.
Okay.
and then we can wrap things up. So, officially launching on November 19th, The
Mhm.
Neuro's Journey,
Yep.
available on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. So, we won't be able to put the links in the show notes. We will update the links in the show notes once your show goes live, but we will put
Okay.
your YouTube channel in there for sure because it is already live. And then podcast party. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so this is your idea, but I mean, I'm super happy about it. So one of the allies that has come in is a man named Omani Carson, and I do have one episode out that is kind of like a sneak preview, and that's on YouTube. And he's a really inspirational man, mentor and friend of mine, a billionaire who's dedicated his life to this kind of healing. And it was interesting. We kind of oriented around his schedule, but he's been so kind with his time, and he's coming out and is being at it, and we're throwing a party where we're going to have a couple of hours of kind of community. We have a lot of really great sponsors. We have non-alcoholic beverages, we have CBD beverages, we have Plant Magic Cafe coming up from Denver. We have legal psychedelics here in Colorado. There are the people that have scanned my brain and have done neurofeedback on me, and Leah, who are going to be there and giving away some things. And actually, people will be able to see the progress that my brain has made. They're going to have
That's
some
so
pictures of
cool.
it.
I can't wait to see this.
Yeah. And then we're going to do an episode of the podcast with you, me, Leah Mix, who's an expert in psychedelics, and my fiance, and Omani. Jojo Abbott, who's an incredible performer. She's just one of the most artistic people I've ever seen.
I'm
I
so excited.
yeah, I saw her at this at the Heartland Gathering, which is Omani Carson's sort of spiritual festival, and I just went up to her the next morning. I was like, "Your performance was the most like it was crazy. This woman is from Ghana and New York, and it's this combination of prayer and sort of very native feeling, but also became a hip hop show, and
Mm,
and we just really hit it off. And she said that she would come out, so she's going to do sort of a prayer before, which is not to be missed, really, really cool. And then we'll do our thing, and then she'll do a like a music performance for an hour, and then Queen of Air, kind of local hero DJ from around here. So it'll be a night where people can hang out, get some food, not drink alcohol, but catch a buzz probably,
in another way.
and meet each other and sort of build community. I mean, I have my friends and people who are coming. You have people. There are people that are coming from all over, who are generally about bringing more goodness and healing and fun into the world. And I think some of it is like, this is a celebration. Like, this stuff does not have to be morose. Like, people say the work. I mean, the work is the best shit I've ever done. And it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
there are some, courage and challenging times, but for the most part, when you engage in this path and you get other people who are aligned, it's a joyful experience.
Yeah.
And so I feel really blessed to be putting it on. It's also a little scary. I mean, it's honestly like I haven't done an event like this where like there are tickets. I mean, I've thrown a lot of fun house parties, but this is a little different.
Yeah.
And some of the old like high school, like, is anyone going to show up?
Yeah.
Is coming, and we're selling tickets. Like, I'm not worried about that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited about it, and it's just one of those things that I I mean, if you would have told me a year ago on that date that this is what was going to be happening, it just would have been incomprehensible to me. I mean, I had a whole nother business that was 10 years old and was very successful going on then, which basically, I'm leaving to do this. And so, yeah, it feels like exciting, and it really feels like the taking a leap. Like, of course, I think putting your first episode out and all that, but this is also something that's like, okay, this is like a bunch of people are coming. And so That's on the 22nd of November here in Boulder, the neurosjourney.com. If you want to get tickets, you should definitely come. It'll be a fun party. And the podcasts will start to drop weekly on the 19th. And there's one out there that is available on YouTube only now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool. We'll put the YouTube in the show notes of this
Okay.
episode, and then we'll also put the link to get a ticket for anyone that's in Colorado or wants to fly in and come. It's going to be so amazing. I'm very excited. I just
Yeah.
feel like I feel like it would be doing your show and this endeavor a disservice if we didn't throw a party. And I think like there's again, speaking to the high achiever, like we often just do all this epic shit and like don't celebrate ourselves and like don't make it a big deal. And I'm like, it's a big deal. It's a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
Like we're watching a show and this is a big thing. So I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a lot of fun and yeah, I can't wait to see. I love how we're like blending the art and the music and the voice and speaking and the food and drink and everything's very curated and intentional and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. I mean, it'll definitely be a fun party. I think there will be a lot of opportunity to learn stuff, to meet people. And I'm very excited about it. And you're right, it's interesting too to just because like my ex-wife, the mother of my children, was a big DJ. We've thrown a lot of parties. They were very kind of drug-addled,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and this is like a different sort of celebration. I think it like reflects where I'm at now. And, I no longer drink. I don't do street drugs and those kinds of things. But, it will be like an exuberant time
Yeah.
and it is fun to just like have these different kinds of experiences with people. For people who are coming, they'll be mingling, they'll be like eating, there'll be like a little like talk, and then there'll be this wild prayer, and then multiple kinds of dance. So it's like it will really be like a journey of
It will be a
of an evening,
there will be a Neuro's journey within the Neuro's journey.
And I grew up in a culture, and I thought that like it wouldn't be fun to not drink,
Mm-hmm.
and I really came from that. And now, I mean, I haven't drank for years. I've met the love of my life. We've never had a drink together, that kind of thing. But I do like love these kinds of events where people are indulging in things that are maybe a little more mind expanding than they would be in the other thing, and not having a lot of alcohol or just being totally sober and being like, this is, I mean, high on life.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the way to be.
Yeah.
I don't drink often, but um, yeah, I think for me, I'm like I don't need it. I just I'm like how can I be high on life? How
Right.
can I just like live life fully sober? In that regard. So
And
yeah.
we used to say it, I mean, when I was young, we'd call it drinking courage.
Mhm.
And now it's just sort of a different phase in life where you can engage some actual courage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like the embodiment of your show.
Yeah.
It's like it it allows people to be seen, and I think getting into like rooms and going to events, like it requires a level of vulnerability. You have to get ready, you have to show up,
Hmm.
and people are looking at you. Granted, they're thinking about what they look like, but still,
Yeah.
it's like you're putting yourself out there. But I think only good things happen from there. So I'm excited to see where it goes. And thank you for taking time and for like, I think you proposed this, didn't you? Didn't you propose this episode? Because I
I'm
was,
not sure.
I feel like it was not, I was not like, Steve, do you want to? I
Uh,
mean, I don't know. I can't
I
remember.
think, yeah, I think I had the idea that I think it would be interesting for you to like document this as
Yes.
it's happening in
Yes.
real time
Yeah.
and sort of be a way. And this is like, honestly, something I like to do in business. And like, I'm getting you aligned with me, and
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
aligned with you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
For sure.
more invested in my success. But I think it's an interesting thing because what you're doing is interesting, and I think it's of value for someone trying to do this. And honestly, like we're just going out there. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with this?
Yeah.
And so, I think it's vulnerable for you just as much as me because you're like, in some
Yeah,
senses, like leading this charge. And I mean, I think it's made us closer, and we're working more
totally.
together, and it's like more
Yeah.
aligned. And, it also feels good that I am hopeful that my project will be beneficial to your project.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I
And
mean?
vice
And so,
versa. I'm
yeah,
like, it's
yeah.
gonna be no, I just feel like it's like this, like we're just weaving and I do feel like that's how it should feel. I don't think that's always how it has felt, or sure for you, you've had clients where it's not felt that way, but it is beautiful when you meet the right type of people that you want to work with and you're like, wow, this actually feels like a partnership that
Hmm.
we can build and grow, and that's the best, you know?
Yeah, and I think when you're more tuned into that and you start to understand those feelings, you more quickly know what is right.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I think you and I are both at a spot now where we kind of know, like
Yeah.
when I met you, and even Leah, who heard us from upstairs, she was like, "Who are you on the phone with? That sounded like whoever that is. You should like stick with her. Like, she's, and this is our intro call." And I was like, and she was like, "I don't even exactly know what you were saying, but I heard the energy from you and from
Yeah.
her, and she knows me really well, and she could tell that whatever version of myself was showing up for with you
Yeah.
was like the one that I want to put out into the world,
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
so great.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest compliment to me because I'm like, my mission in life is to just help people become more of their authentic selves.
Well,
And
you're
if I could do
doing it.
that through this, then so be it.
Yeah, you're doing it for sure. I mean, the way that you see me, the wisdom that you have from your own experience, your energy, the creative juices you have, all of those things are super beneficial to me. And like whatever. I mean, we'll talk about what cuts I get from the people that you sign up from this, but
Let's
no,
go.
but I think like I mean, if you're interested in working with someone, like my experience has been, I feel more like how I want to be in this, like
Yeah,
with you. It's
yeah,
like weird with an outside influence, it's making it more like how I am.
yeah. Well, that's good. I'm
Yeah.
so glad. That makes me happy.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have anything else? I don't think so. I want to end now that we've changed the podcast name, and I feel like this is hopefully going to be the last time I change the fucking name. Like, if for people that have listened since 2018, which I just recently met someone in Boulder who has listened to my show since 2018.
No.
And I had never met a listener who has listened from all the way in the beginning in person. So
Oh
that was
wow.
so special. And that's when I was doing fitness, and the show was called Balance with Sam, and it was me like holding this like weight thing. It was cute. But it's evolved obviously as I have, but Own It, the show name feels like the embodiment of my work for the last 10 years, really, of like who I've become, the mission that I'm here to lead, like what I give a shit about. So I'm gonna ask you the question of in your experience, what does it mean to own it?
Hmm. I think owning it means the deep down inner knowing that like I have some worth and value, and that what is mine to say is like of value to people. And even if it's not, it's worthy for me. Like it's my expression.
Mm.
And so I think that in you, the way that you see me helps to encourage me to be more authentic to my own voice.
Mm.
And that knowing that you're right, there is a lot of impulses to change things to fit in the likes and the this and the that and all all the things. And I think what I get from you kind of ratifies what I want to do, which is just like be me. And I'm not polished. I am not like this incredible speaker that doesn't say like or and all that kind of stuff. I'm just a dude. But I have feeling like owning it just means like yeah, that's sort of my magic,
Yeah.
that I'm not all those things, that I'm just me being me. And so like being in contact with you has helped me live that more.
Mm. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, Thank you, Steve, for being on. And you guys listening and watching, please go check out the Neuro's Journey, theneurosjourney.com. Come to the event, subscribe to Steve's YouTube channel, give him some love. It's going to be, I've already listened to so many of the episodes that you've already recorded that we haven't released yet. But let's just say that you guys are going to learn so much about the brain, healing, going on your authentic path and journey. And I can't wait for the show to go live and to launch you into the world. So,
Yay.
yes, thanks, Steve.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next week. Have a great week and talk to you soon. Bye.
All right.